This video contains massive spoilers for In Golden Flame. If you're planning on playing in this adventure, do not watch any further. Combat: Killslsound. Sitrep, Recon, Lancer, page 273. Enemy Forces. For 3 PCs, 1 Elite Sentinel with Impaler and Rapid Response, 1 Engineer with Arsenal, 1 Ronin, 1 Hive, and 1 Scour with Supercharged. For 4 PCs, Scour, add Veteran Template and Feign Death trait, plus 1 Aegis with Adaptive Shielding and Ring of Fire. For 5 PCs, Elite Sentinel, add Commander Template and Quick March trait, plus 1 Hive. Details. This fight takes place near an electronic music concert. This presents a problem. The fighting occurs in a place where tens of thousands of people can see it. The concert has mechs fighting as part of its spectacle, so if the crowd sees the PCs engaging the enemies, they won't immediately know something's wrong. If the PCs don't act with care, however, they might cause a panic. Create a panic/hype clock with 8 segments, 4 already filled. The less segments ticked, the more the fight is upsetting and frightening the crowd. But the more segments ticked, the more it's entertaining them. Entertaining events tick 1 segment. Examples: a character inflicts structure damage. A character scores a critical hit. A character may dance as a quick action. PCs may scan or bolster as part of the same action. A PC activates their core system. Frightening events untick 1 segment. Examples: a character destroys cover, terrain, or objects that aren't deployable. A character uses a weapon or system that deals damage in a large area. A character's final result on an attack is 4 or less. Their shot or swing goes concerningly wide. A mech exploding due to a meltdown. These are examples. If other actions seem particularly cool or frightening, tick or untick as appropriate. Evelina Bondarchuk has arranged for the usual event crew to be replaced with members of the cult. They're attempting to airlift the focal array out using the concert as cover. Their freight tug is disguised as a festival blimp, which showers the ravers with confetti and crowd-safe pyrotechnics as it flies over. The cultists don't want to blow their cover, so they will also try to tick segments on the panic/hype clock. When the PCs step onto the field, the DJ, EZ McFear, assumes that they're the other half of the event crew and begins giving stage directions over the radio. She's way too in the zone to understand that this is an actual fight, and will ignore attempts to convince her. The PCs must locate the focal array before the Faith extracts it. The moment the fight starts, Rita dispatches a freight tug. The PCs will have to move quickly to identify the correct storage unit, and then keep control of it until the tug arrives. The players have done a control sitrep before, so ensure they understand how the recon sitrep differs from it. The hostile force should try to avoid revealing the true control zone, while still interfering with the PC's mobility as much as possible. However, once the PCs have identified the true control zone, the hostiles should focus on keeping the PCs away from it. The Sentinel is the star of this engagement. Its mobility allows it rapidly reposition, allowing it to lock down certain targets with Overwatch. Remember that a PC's standard movement and boost are separate, so if you think a PC intends to boost, use Rapid Response to put the Sentinel close enough to threaten the position they boost from. Remember that even though elites get 2 turns, their reactions don't refresh until their first turn in a new round. The Sentinel can Overwatch more often by using Eye of Midnight, but this will cause it to become slowed, which disables Rapid Response. The Ronin's rebound ability isn't actually as powerful as players think it is. It only has a 50% chance of triggering, but its psychological effect is profound. Players don't like having their own weapons turned against them, and they might become hesitant to fire at it after one bad experience. If the Aegis is present, it may help to have it hold back from the fight. lurking near enough to the true CZ that once it's discovered, it can quickly move in and deploy its defense net. Its light laser makes it an unattractive target to get close to. If the Scourer has feigned death, be very careful about how other NPCs interact with it. This is the first time that the PCs will have encountered an enemy that has it. And if they're not familiar with Lancer in general, they will have no reason to assume that it isn't destroyed. Outcome: if the panic/hype clock ends with one or less segments ticked, the crowd panics and several people are injured in a stampede for the exit. Evelina Bondarchuk lodges a direct complaint with the board, forcing Rita onto a defensive footing. The PCs lose access to reserves for the next fight in this mission. If the clock ends with 7 or more segments ticked, the crowd is ecstatic. A member of the board notices and seems pleased with the good publicity the event got. One PC rolls once on the Calliope Reserves table, page 269, and gains that reserve. PC defeat if the PCs can't secure the true control zone by the end of the 6th round. The Colt's freight tug shows up and retrieves the focal array, whisking it off somewhere the PCs can't reach. Remaining enemies peel off, their task complete. The PCs can still attempt to rescue Dr. Nyambos if they haven't done that yet. Com chatter suggests that the hostiles intend to move her shortly. PC victory if the PCs secure the true control zone. The freight tug that Rita sent shows up and extracts the focal array, taking it to a secure location for further study. If the PCs haven't already located Dr. Nyambos, they catch some stray comms chatter, indicating her location, and an intent to move her shortly. Following up, take stock of how the PCs performed during this beat. Hopefully, they successfully rescued Dr. Nyambos and retrieved the focal array. Failing on either task will have consequences down the line. No matter how they performed, Sergeant Hemmingson will show no appreciation for the PC's actions. In fact, he'll threaten them with legal action over interrupting an armory rescue operation. It's pure bluster, though. The last thing he'd do is reveal to his superiors that a team of locals had to do his work for him. If Dr. Nyambos was rescued, she shows much more gratitude, as does Low-Key Valentinian. Low-Key promises that he'll repay the PCs once the icebreaker's troubles are over. He can't offer any more support right now, though. Hemmingson is furious with him. Fortunately, there's no danger of a write-up, since any investigation of the matter would reveal the context behind Low-Key's actions. There's time for a full repair. If the PCs haven't finished beat 10, the Gate of Mithryl, page 127. Yet, they have time to do so, as Rita distracts the board long enough to allow the team to finish their work. Otherwise, consult beat 12, Spreading Fire, page 141. REWARDS. If the PCs recovered the focal array safely and rescued Dr. Nyambos, she can repurpose the array into a mech portable laser weapon. It can only operate at a tiny fraction of its intended power, since it only has the output of a single mech cold core. Nonetheless, it has the power to flash boil an entire squad of mechs, with a single shot, if its wielder can avoid slagging their own frame in the process. Beat 12. Spreading Fire. Once the PCs have completed both Beat 10, the Gate of Mithryl, page 127, and Beat 11, the Eye of Balor, page 133, determine their level of success. If the fire gate has been destroyed, Dr. Nyambos has been rescued, and the focal array has been seized. The inner cult is forced to cut its loses and find another way to crack Cantal. They no longer have the manpower necessary to seize the icebreaker, and even if they did, without the focal array, they can't fire the laser. Despite their zeal, the inner cult won't throw themselves blindly at death for no benefit. In this case, move directly to the full success conclusion in Downtime 2, page 144. However, If the fire gate is still active, the focal array wasn't retrieved or Dr. Nyambos wasn't rescued. The inner cult's mission is still viable, if only just. If they still have all three assets, they're in prime position, and the PCs will have their work cut out for them. Assault on the Borealis. The PCs have time for a full repair before the cult makes its next move. A couple of days pass after the PCs finish their second investigation. They haven't tied up all the loose ends, nor do they have the full picture, but at this point they should be aware that their enemy is an organization closely associated with the faith of the One. Rita has been busy stalling the board long enough to put together a report that paints her unauthorized actions as necessary. Then everything goes to hell. It happens quite suddenly. Every screen in the room goes blank for a moment, and then displays an emergency alert. Sirens start sounding. Same as every day. You only know something is wrong when the sound of the sirens is joined by the staccato of gunshot. Lights start going out. Distant flashes of weapons fire are visible throughout the cylinder. Across the hull of the Borealis, a series of vast radiator panels begin to unfurl, already glowing red-hot. Some extend dangerously close to the sprawl. Then the tremors start. The Borealis attitude control thrusters are firing, slowly turning the massive ship and the city attached to it. Rita urgently contacts the PCs. We've got hostile contacts all across the station. A strike force has seized control of the Borealis command bridge, and they've started the mining lasers charging sequence. Every single reactor on the ship is spun up. We can't restore control remotely, and my response teams are pinned down in the forward hangar bay. I'm dispatching your mechs on a freight loader. Get to reactor control on the Borealis and engage the manual overrides. Shut the power down before this entire station boils. If both of the cult's teams are still active, they have enough troops to ambush the fire team's freight train. Run combat, getting railroaded, page 142, and then combat, powerhouse, page 143, afterwards, with a rest in between. If only one team is left, just run combat, powerhouse. Fight them anyway. In the original version of this mission, there was a third investigation branch involving a third team that the PCs were required to look into. During early playtesting, we found that it dragged the mission out too much and offered too many choices and leads. Repurposing that content to an optional section that only happens if PCs fail to complete both branches optimally felt better for pacing. However, Lancer is a game about mech fights, and you might want to run this content anyway. In that case, it's fairly easy to imagine that the inner cult were smart enough to keep a backup team hidden from the PCs, perhaps even from their own people. The name of this strike force was Ifrit Team. If you run these encounters despite the PCs completing both investigations successfully, don't penalize them for it. Make sure they get the correct reward in Downtime too. Combat. Getting railroaded. Sitrep. Holdout, Lancer, page 272. Enemy forces. For 3 PCs. 1 elite breacher with Painmaker and superior ramp. 1 veteran cataphract with charge and insulated. 1 pyro. For 4 PCs. Plus 1 veteran WITCH with hacker. Plus 1 scout. For 5 PCs. Plus 1 elite assault with underslung grenade launcher. Reinforcements. For 3 PCs. 1 elite priest with empowered shield. 1 veteran ace with rapid response and acrobat. For 4 PCs. Plus 1 veteran archer with covering fire and acrobat. For 5 PCs. Plus 1 elite operator with telefrag. Details. This brutal conflict takes place on a speeding train rushing through the icebreaker's freight tunnels. Cars should be at least 3 spaces wide, 6 spaces long, and 2 spaces tall, with a space separating each car from the next. The hostiles have forced each car's loading doors open, but there's cargo inside each car that provides pieces of size 1 and size 2 hard cover. There is an oncoming line on one side of the train and a wall on the other. Being outside the train is very bad. Any character that can't fly who doesn't end the round on the train immediately moves 2d6 spaces towards the back of the maw page. Characters that fall off the edge of the map are removed from the fight. They're not damaged or destroyed, but they can no longer participate in combat. Fortunately, the PCs are tethered to the train and may take a full action to reel themselves back to the nearest train car. If a grappled target is adjacent to the tunnel wall, the grappler may grind them once per turn as a free action, dealing 1d6 kinetic damage. If a grappled character isn't on the correct side of the grappler, they can rotate, at a cost of 1 movement for each space the target is moved. At the beginning of each round, the PCs are warned of a hazard by the panicking train driver. Choose a hazard or determine randomly. Enemies are aware of hazards and will try to avoid them if possible. Oncoming train, at the end of the round, all characters on the oncoming line must make an agility check. On a failure, they take 2d6 kinetic damage and are pushed out of the oncoming line by the shortest route available. On a success, they take half damage and are not moved. Objects are instantly destroyed. Hard turn, at the end of the round, all characters on the train must make an agility check or fall prone as the train makes a sharp turn. Characters on top of the train who fail the check are also pushed off the edge of the train. Tight tunnel. For the rest of the round, characters on the train and characters not on the train no longer have line of sight to each other. Blockage. An object with 5 evasion and 12 HP is blocking the track in front of the train. Low clearance. When this hazard is announced, anyone on top of the train must either immediately take a reaction to drop prone or take 1d6 kinetic damage and become slowed. If it isn't removed by the end of the round, every character on the train must succeed on a hull check, or be pushed 3 spaces towards the front of the train. Any character who collides with an object takes 1d6 kinetic damage. Burst fuel line. A reactor fuel line has blown open ahead of the train, and it's spraying white-hot fire onto the track. At the end of the turn, any character inside the train and not in hard cover must succeed on an engineering check or take 3 burn damage. Combat. Powerhouse. Sitrep, Special, see below. Enemy forces. For 3 PCs, 1 Elite Engineer Mobile Turrets, Shepherd Field. 1 Aegis Ring of Fire. 1 ASSIN Spinning Kick. 1 Sentinel. For 4 PCs, plus 1 Veteran Cataphract Capacitor Discharge, Slippery. For 5 PCs, plus 1 Elite Berserker Nailgun. Details. The PCs must engage manual overrides on enough of the reactors to thwart the mining laser's firing sequence. Place a number of reactors on the battlefield, about double the number of players you have. Each reactor is a size 3 object that blocks line of sight and is sufficiently well shielded to be immune to damage from mech-scale weaponry. Control of the reactors is not determined on a tally system. Instead, while adjacent to a reactor, a PC may take a full action to engage its manual override, or a quick action if they have manipulators. That reactor then shuts down. Enemies can't restart reactors that are shut down. The PCs must shut down at least half the reactors to achieve victory. The room is dangerously hot while this many reactors are spun up. At the end of each character's turn, they take 1 heat. Any character that ends their turn adjacent to an active reactor, instead, takes 2 heat. Punctuate the end of every round with increasingly panicked transmissions from the station's maintenance crews. Here are some, if you need inspiration. Rita to fire team. We're getting cascading power failures across the station. Whatever you're doing, you need to hurry. Calling any available emergency responders? We've got electrical fires in the Zhengyi, Sao, and Floretta districts. Central. This is Fayed Harb. Call a mandatory evac on the Fortuna district. Lord have mercy. It's gonna break loose. Seal every door to the bazaar. Seal every door to the... And then static. The ASSASSIN is a dangerous new enemy that likes to single out a specific target and then make their life a living hell. In this case, the assassin also has the ability to fling the PCs off a reactor with spinning kick. Outcome: PC defeat. If the PCs can't engage manual overrides on at least half the reactors by the end of the 6th round, the laser's charging sequence finishes. The PCs won't be able to see it fire from here, but they'll certainly feel the aftershocks. A massive electromagnetic pulse rips through the vessel, temporarily disabling their mechs. When their sensor feeds return, the station is in absolute chaos. Firing the laser has knocked out most of the station's systems, leaving it with emergency power only. The sprawl is in complete disarray. The vibrations severed fuel, oxygen, and power lines. The ship's radiators fracture under the thermal strain, spilling molten debris onto the city below. There are electrical fires everywhere. Bulkheads on the starstrip have sealed. It's open to vacuum in multiple places. Cantel cracks, not fully, but enough to reveal something inside. Somehow, the PCs can feel it, a cracking from every direction, as if it were the shell of an egg breaking around them. There is the shriek of a predatory bird and a brilliant light that is somehow visible even through the plating of their mechs and the hull of the ship. Then there is silence. PC victory. If the PCs shut down enough reactors, the laser's charging sequence stalls. Rita's security teams have time to regroup and storm the ship's bridge, regaining control of the Borealis, and stopping the process entirely, with only seconds left. Downtime 2. So, how'd we do? Fate of the icebreaker. Failure. If the PCs couldn't stop the laser from firing, the next few days are a mess. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands, are injured or dead. The board is in uproar, and the station is a wreck. Its reputation will likely never recover. Evelina Bondarchuk remains on the board. Rita tenders her resignation as station director, but promises the PCs they'll still get paid. She has enough dirt on the board to ensure it. Nonetheless, she's clearly asking herself if it was a mistake to hire them. The devastation wrought on the icebreaker has knock-on effects to the system's entire economy. Untick a segment on the station stability clock, as this hurts Hell's Gate as well. Moreover, something much more sinister has been birthed here. Tick 4 segments on the cult influence clock and reveal it to the PCs. The PCs don't have time for a downtime action. In fact, it would be wise for them to leave the icebreaker Borealis as soon as possible. Partial success. If the PCs manage to halt the laser in the final moments of its charging sequence, the station is battered and bruised, but still functional. Casualty counts are within acceptable ranges. Whatever that means, few deaths, though injuries are still mounting. Rita is able to paint the PCs as brave heroes who helped the station avert total disaster, which pacifies the board enough to let her keep her job. Although nothing can be proven, enough suspicion lies on Evelina Bondarchuk that she quietly departs the station and does not return. Don't adjust the station stability clock. The icebreaker will need time to recover, but not too long. In the meantime, Hell's Gate will be there to provide the materials it needs to repair and rebuild. Tick 2 segments on the cult influence clock and reveal it to the PCs. This wasn't a victory for the cult, but it was an encouraging test run. They got close, and it showed how weak the system's defenses are. The PCs each have time for a downtime action, although it might not be a happy affair, given the current state of the station. Full success. If the PCs successfully completed both investigations, there was never an assault to repel. Rita triumphantly delivers her report to the board, outlining the catastrophe her unilateral action prevented. The board grudgingly agrees. In the following days, they launch their own series of investigations. Evelina Bondarchuk flees the station hours before she's outed as a traitor. Tick a segment on the station's stability clock. Not only has the icebreaker been saved, it owes a debt of gratitude to Hell's Gate. This ensures a degree of solidarity between the two stations going forward. Tick no segments on the cult influence clock and reveal it to the PCs. Through their investigations, they will now know something much larger is at work here. The PCs each have time for a downtime action, and Rita ensures that they are treated as heroes and want for nothing during the rest of their stay. Checking in on friends. The team's performance will have affected any friends and acquaintances they made over the course of their visit to the icebreaker. If the PCs feel so inclined, run some vignettes with these characters to show how the events of this mission have impacted their life. In particular, if the PCs made friends with low-key Valentinian and Dr. Nyambose, they send a message after things settle down, either congratulating the PCs or commiserating. They've had some bad news of their own. Their vessel has been ordered to stay put and await the arrival of a Harrison Armory battle group currently en route to the system. Both Low-Key and Dr. Nyambose suspect they're about to get roped into the schemes of Dr. Odin Valentinian, Low-Key's father, a thing they both left the Dawnline shore to avoid. Winding down. Once the PCs have concluded their business on the station, they advance to license level 2. They have time for a full repair and then may return to Hell's Gate. The duration of the downtime is flexible, but should be no more than a few weeks, not including the 11 days it takes to return to Hell's Gate. The interview. As soon as the PCs get back to Hell's Gate, they're approached by Ipswich Switch DeLacy. A boyish youth with a shock of platinum white hair strolls up to you, carrying a milkshake. They're followed by a small fleet of hovering camera drones, which they seem to be controlling with some kind of hellishly complicated wrist computer. Yo, hey. You're that special team Jerry put together, right? You were on the icebreaker when shit went down? Nice. My name's Ipswich DeLacy, but my friends call me's Witch. They flash you a smile and extend their free hand. Could I get an interview for my stream? Switch is very eager, but they won't press the issue if the PCs refuse. If the PCs accept, Switch will listen intently without interrupting, speaking only during natural breaks in the conversation. Their questions are wide-ranging, but mostly seem to be centered around interesting things that happened. Mech fights are front and center, obviously, and interesting people they met. If Dr. Nyambose is mentioned, a brief look of concern passes across Switch's face. If Low-Key Valentinian is mentioned, Switch chokes on their milkshake and then inexpertly tries to hide their shock. If the approaching armory fleet is mentioned, they have what appears to be a panic attack, ending the interview abruptly. New downtime activities. Fight in the Hellfire League. You paint a logo on your mech, practice your interview voice, and pay sign-up fees to compete in Calliope's most popular sport, gladiatorial mech violence. This isn't the same as tactical combat. It's as much about looking good for the camera as it is about blowing holes in your opponent, and you have to be very careful not to kill them. Plus, your usual work doesn't require you to craft a persona or cut compelling promos. The only league still accepting sign-ups this late in a season is the Hellfire League. The Thunderstorm and Moon Glacier Leagues are too selective about their membership to allow new entries at this time. This downtime action is specific to the icebreaker. The PCs can only take advantage of it when on the station, but if a future downtime is at least a few weeks long, a PC could take a shuttle from wherever they currently are to the icebreaker to indulge in a little luxury R&R. This action is only available until the end of Act 1, after which the current season ends. Create an arena performance clock with 8 segments, and then make 3 rolls, The first role is about crafting your persona, cutting good promos, and developing good on-screen chemistry with opponents. It requires skill triggers like charm, lead, or inspire, take control, or threaten. The second role involves sizing up your opponents, understanding the meta of the league, and developing a fighting style. It requires skill triggers like investigate, read a situation, spot, or word on the street. The third role involves actually fighting in the arena, trading blows, surviving an enemy's attacks, controlling the environment, winning the battle, and looking good doing it. It requires skill triggers like assault, blow something up, show off, or take someone out. Each role has the potential to fill in some segments on the arena performance clock. For each role of 9 or less, don't tick any segments. For each role of 10 to 19, fill in 1 segment. For each role of 20 plus, fill in 2 segments. Your arena performance clock remains between missions, so you can take this action over multiple downtimes to accrue successes. If you finish a run with no segments ticked, you're a disappointment. You don't have the acting chops to make an interesting character. Your style isn't engaging to watch, and you don't have much in-ring talent. Sorry, you're just not league material. They ask you not to come back. You can't take this downtime action again. If you finish a run with 1 to 3 segments ticked, you're fine. You don't win anything, but you're at least able to make someone else higher up the ladder look good, and the crowd doesn't hate you. You get paid enough to cover your repair bills, and gain +1 advantage on all checks to interact with fans of the sport until the next downtime. If you finish a run with 4 to 7 segments ticked, you're doing numbers. You aren't championship level yet, but you have a combination of charisma, style, and skill that's pleasing the crowd. You gain +1 advantage on all checks to interact with fans of the sport until the next downtime, and enough winnings to secure a single reserve. If you finish a run with 8 segments ticked, you're dynamite. You've got that rare blend of personal magnetism, unique styling, and combat skill that makes a star. There are whispers in the sports bars and the Omninet forums. You might do it. You might go all the way. You get all the benefits of 4 to 7 segments, plus you get an invitation to the next league championship page. Championship invitation. Favors. There are fans out there who'd sell their soul to be where you are right now, a rising star, climbing the league's ladder hand over hand. You and your mech are becoming known across all of Union. During the final downtime of Act 1, you may take the Hellfire League Championship action. Thwart the cult. An insidious presence is hiding amongst the faith of the One. You got a taste of it on the icebreaker, enough to know that it goes much deeper than a few random fanatics. Now you're seeing the signs on Hell's Gate. You've made a resolution. It won't happen here too. You can only take this action when the cult influence clock has at least 1 segment ticked. Create a 3-segment cult investigation clock on your character sheet. Then roll. On 9 or less, fill in 1 segment. On 10-19, fill in 2 segments. On 20 plus, fill in 3 segments. Once you have segments ticked, you know, or at least strongly suspect, the identity of an important member of the cult in Hell's Gate. From now on, when not actively engaged in a mission, you can clear segments on your cult investigation clock for the following benefits. 1 segment, you may ask the GM 1 question about the cult's current activities. They must answer truthfully and as fully as possible. 2 segments, you make a risky move against the cult member you're investigating. It will definitely succeed, unticking 1 segment of the cult influence clock, but it'll cause controversy, untick a segment of the station stability clock too. 3 segments, you make a confident move against the cult member you're investigating, and you either have ironclad evidence or can do it quietly. Untick 1 segment on the cult influence clock, tick 1 segment on the station stability clock.